What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. If you're an old grognard like me, chances are you enjoy a good dungeon crawl. From the early days when you had your Ruins of Undermountain to the One Ring's excellent Moria supplement, there have always been great dungeon crawls for you and your group to play through. But what if I told you that my favorite dungeon crawl of the year so far happens to be for my favorite game of the year so far? Do I have your attention yet? Well, the Lost Roads of Dal Karok for the Tales of Argosa may be just the dungeon crawl you're looking for. Let's get into it. If you are enjoying the content, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, as that is the only way I will find my way out of this YouTube dungeon crawl that I'm on. If you're looking for a great group of gamers to discuss games, play games, or even just discuss pop culture, well, head on over to the Books, Bricks, and Boards Discord server. The link is in the description of this video. Last but not least, if you would like to support the channel financially, please consider a membership at only $2 a month for the entry membership. They are very affordable, and they keep me doing what you seem to enjoy.
Are you not entertained?
With all that out of the way, let's get on with the show. Today I'm going to be talking about a module for a game called Tales of Argosa, that module being the Lost Roads of Dal Karok. That being said, I thought it only appropriate that I would share a little bit of information about what Tales of Argosa is, so you won't be totally confused. If you want a more detailed version of my review of Tales of Argosa, just head over to this link here. Tales of Argosa is a sword and sorcery D20 based adventure game, and it is designed by Steve Grodzicki and Pickpocket Press. This is my game of 2025 so far. I picked it up earlier this year and I am in love. With that said, the three things that I think make Tales of Argosa different than the alternatives available on the market: number one, it is familiar. The familiarity of Tales of Argosa comes from the fact that it is a D20 based RPG, building on the best of what 3.0 had to offer, stripping down what wasn't necessary, and adding some really great innovations. Which leads me to my number two reason that Tales of Argosa is different: the innovations. Tales of Argosa has custom classes, custom class features that you can actually build yourself with your game master. It has great weird monsters that you're not going to see everywhere else. The sorcery in the game is very much deadly and dangerous, and the natural 19 system is stacked on top of the normal crits and fumbles range of results for your attacks, adding a whole nother layer of danger and just creativity to combat. Throw on top of that all the exploits that you can do, adding not just an alternative to what you can do in combat, and Tales of Argosa ends up being a very innovative take on the D20 line. And number three, Tales of Argosa does swords and sorcery vibe better than any game that I have ever played. This game captures the feel of Conan better than Conan, and that is why you should take a look at Tales of Argosa. That being said, Tales of Argosa is also, as I said right up front, a D20 based game. So if you wanted to take, say, the Lost Roads of Dal Karok and play that in a D20 based alternative, like, I don't know, something by the Hasbros on the coast, you could certainly do that with minimal effort in conversion. Whether you want to try Tales of Argosa or not, this adventure still may be for you. The history of dungeon crawls. This won't be an exhaustive history, as that would be a video in and of itself, but suffice it to say that dungeon crawls have been a part of the hobby ever since the very beginning, when Dave Arneson took his players through his own dungeon and then introduced it to Gary, which became the hobby that we know and love today. Through the years, there have been the simple, generative dungeon crawls, such as those found in the original Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide. There's geomorphs. There are preset dungeons, like the brilliant Abomination Vaults by Paizo Games for their Pathfinder series. And there are also the fill-in-the-blank dungeon crawls, like the Ruins of Undermountain, which left most of the map undetailed so that the dungeon master could do his own thing. As I've gotten older, I have gotten away from the prescripted dungeons and more enjoy the generative dungeons, such as with the One Ring's Moria Through the Doors of Durin supplement.
The home of my cousin Valin, and they call it a mine.
Just recently, I was given the great opportunity to take a look at The Lost Roads of Dol Karok by Steve Grodzicki over at Pickpocket Press for his Tales of Argosa. Now, because Tales of Argosa is very much a D20 based game, it would not be hard to adapt this to another D20 style game, but why would you? Because Tales of Argosa is amazing. Just play that. Anyways, this is a generative dungeon crawl, which will allow me to have a different experience every time I play it, and more importantly, if I decide to play it solo, I'm still going to be surprised. That's a great thing. With that out of the way, let's talk about The Lost Roads of Dol Karok. The Lost Roads of Dol Karok. As I mentioned right up front in the history of dungeon crawls, there are many ways to do it. One of my favorites right now is the generative method, being that nothing is set in stone, you just get a toolkit so you can design a dungeon as you go, and then everybody is surprised, the game master and the players. So Lost Roads of Dol Karok is very much a toolkit dungeon crawl. With this kit, you're going to have new tools to have a specific style of event and encounter within this very specific setting. There are some great ways that the book sets up the tone, talking about the history of Dol Karok and the peoples thereof. Being that this is Tales of Argosa, everything is humanocentric, so it is very interesting that Steve chose to include the last of the dwarves of his world in this particular module. So as you flip open, you're immediately going to be given some different ways to get the party going with some rumors and research that you can do, as well as a kit to name specific sites that the players may be looking for. They can be looking for a weapon of great legend, they could be looking for knowledge, but whatever the case may be, if they have a specific place that they want to get to, you can have a random or chosen name for that site before you get started. This remind anybody of Moria here? It certainly does me. The maps in the book are fantastic. This is the upper levels where the actual community of Dol Karok is, whereas the Lost Roads are below. And they lead to another level below, which is even spookier. So here you have Dol Karok, and here is a general side view layout of the mines, or the roads as they were. Now, you might be thinking, well, but it's all mapped out. How is this generative? Well, this is a basic layout. Now, remember, these also would go horizontally, and there are lots of side tunnels and side chambers, so this just gives you an idea of where some of the larger rooms might be. It's not set in stone. You will notice that there is a hex-based grid, which will tell you where, relatively, where you are in the dungeon crawl. This will help later when you're generating adventures, and especially when you want to go to the next level. There are some great little toolkit items in here to keep track of your adventures down in Dol Karok. So here you have a sheet that you can print out to keep track of your watches and what encounters have happened and how many rations you've used, so on and so forth. And here you have a way that you can map your journey to kind of keep track of where you've been, where you want to go, and so you can actually return if you need to. You can also keep track of what different events have happened at that point. Now, Tales of Argosa already has an incredible encounter and travel generation system, but this adds to that and makes it specific for an underground, cavernous kind of encounter. And I think it really does a great job of not replacing the system that's in Tales of Argosa, but adding to it. And so here you have some of that, generating individual rooms and furnishing them. And then because you are expected to possibly be using the fantastic Oracle dice, the bones as they were, you get some special tables that whenever you have a fortune or misfortune from a roll on the bones, you can be led along to what that might mean. You can, of course, interpret it yourself as well. You have very detailed encounter tables for all of the lost roads. And then you get to the second dungeon crawl in this very slim book, Zamorta. So if you get below row 14 on your Roads of Lost Karok adventures, you find the ancient hollow world of Zamorta. And once you get there, there are a whole different set of encounters and just events that can happen, as this is the more dangerous area. Surprisingly enough, there is a more dangerous area than the original dungeon crawl, and you'll run into some crazy stuff down there. There are a bunch of new monsters in this, and they are just as weird as Steve's monsters in the regular game. There you have the Crust Giant. He was one of my favorites. And there are some items, but this was one of my least expected and most appreciated things in the book. These are fully statted sample characters with some great art to boot. So he's got your barbarian, because Tales of Argosa is a game about barbarians, basically. They've got Lucidia the Melek, who's a ranger, but the more interesting one, they have Malkar the Alchemist. They do have a monk here too. But Malkar the Alchemist, I told Steve whenever I first read this book that Malkar is finally going to get me to try out his alchemist character class. He's got a engineer / alchemist character class that I didn't feel fit the swords and sorcery vibe of the rest of the game, and I gave him a hard time about it. And then I keep seeing more and more stuff about that class that makes me want to try it. So this is going to be the one that does that. I will be trying Malkar the Alchemist at some point in the near future. If you'd like to see that in a video, let me know about it in the comments. And then at the end, you have a nice player cheat sheet that you can print out, which gives some great reminders for some of the things that work a little bit differently in Tales of Argosa. And so there you have it in this very slim, let's see how many pages this was. So about 34 pages, roughly. You have a fantastic, reusable, generative dungeon crawl, actually 2 dungeon crawls, and you get the pre-made characters to try it out. You get some great tools that you could use for really any underground cavernous encounters, and you get some fantastic artwork. Now, this was a review copy given to me by Steve over at Pickpocket Press, but these are not expensive. You can pick it up on DriveThruRPG just for a few of your gold coins, and they will send you a nice printed copy like this, and the PDF is wonderful as well. So this is the Lost Roads of Dol Karok for Tales of Argosa. But I gotta ask you, have you checked out Tales of Argosa yourself yet? If not, why not? This is a fantastic game. As I said, this is my game of 2025 so far. There's always a chance that something will come up before the end of the year that will supplant it, but honestly, it would have to be an incredible game to do that. Now, the good and the bad. First, the good. Lost Roads of Dol Karok does a great job of providing a generative toolkit for creating missions on the fly for you and your group. You will not be disappointed in your sessions if you use the tools as they're laid out here. And just like any toolkit, it is a buffet. Use what you want, throw out what you don't. But this buffet is all deliciousness, so you're probably going to want to use most of it. Number 2, the artwork throughout this book is incredible. The maps, the images of the beasties and the pre-generated characters, it's all top-notch. Nothing that I would not expect from Pickpocket Press. Number 3, designed with a solo player in mind. Now this is made for group adventures, but Steve already included solo play in his Tales of Argosa base game, so he knows that some of us are going to be enjoying this on our own. With that in mind, he does call out in a few places throughout the book ways that this would work a little bit differently for solo play, ensuring that we're going to have a top-notch experience just like our groups. And now the bad. Number 1, I want more. There's just not a big volume here. It's only a little over 30 pages. I would love for this to be in a great big tome like this. Now that said, obviously that's not a realistic request. Or is it? Steve's working on a boxed set for his setting for Tales of Argosa, and he's looking to crowdfund that in the future, and I'm guessing it's going to be a lot of tools and a lot of things like I find here, so maybe that wish will be answered eventually. Number 2, print on demand. Love it or hate it, print on demand is the new way to go, especially with our complicated economic world that we live in, and that's fine. But print on demand has its challenges too, as it's not going to be the tome that lasts 100 years like some of your nice bound copies of your original AD&D books. So this is a print on demand product, love it or hate it. Number 3, derivative. This one's a little bit nitpicky because I love this aspect of it. It does feel very much inspired by the Mines of Moria from Tolkien, and it does have the marks of all the classic dungeon crawls that I have enjoyed throughout my life. It is not going to be an innovative take on dungeon crawling so much as a very loving homage to the genre. So that is what you're getting here. I love that. But there's going to be some of you that take a look at this and you go, this isn't new enough, it's not innovative enough, I want something different. Well, this ain't it. Summary. The Lost Roads of Dol Karok is an excellent value. It's a great dungeon crawl, and it is reusable because of its generative nature. If you are looking for a way to enjoy underground encounters with your group or as a solo player, you could not do better right now than Lost Roads of Dol Karok. As I said, this is my dungeon crawl of the year for my, at this point, game of the year, Tales of Argosa. So if you are looking for that kind of an experience, you would do well to pick up a copy. Look at those absolute legends. Keith, Simone, Dengar the Mighty, Joke, Blue Rose Lion, Agile Monk, Bjorn, and Mike the Hammer. Special thanks to I Am Not Tim, Aceen Dean, and Steve Grodzicki, coming soon. Coming up on the channel, I'm going to have a buyer's guide to the One Ring RPG by Free League Publishing. I'm also going to be going over some more old school games and some new school games. But what I'd like to hear is, what would you like to see? Tell me about it in the comments, and until next time, this has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Good gaming, and God bless.